Hello and welcome to our Culture magazine on I24 News, where we bring you the best from the world of entertainment and art. Today on our program, we host the producer of a documentary film about the Sochi Olympic Games. We take a look at a gut-wrenching Oscar-nominated film about the mass killings in Indonesia. And we'll review Amazon's latest array of pilots. But first, today's cultural headlines. Kanye West wants to be a movie star, and what Kanye wants, Kanye gets. Author and screenwriter Bret Easton Ellis revealed that the rap star approached him and asked him to write a screenplay for a film he could star in. Ellis says he was hesitant at first, but after listening to Kanye's latest album, Yeezus, he decided to collaborate with the notorious musician. Ellis has had one-on-one conversations with Kanye in the last few months to better understand his character and has called the experience mind-blowing. That sure says a lot, considering Ellis is the author of the novel American Psycho. Shazam, the music recognition app, is normally used to help people find songs they don't know the name of, but now it's going to help the music industry find the new breakout hits. According to the New York Times, the Warner Music Group is going to sign a deal with Shazam to use the application to find new musical acts to sign. Using Shazam's data, Warner Brothers will identify emerging hits and new songs that are being sought after by users. According to the company, the app is used 500 million times each month, and apparently a lot of the music searched is by independent or unsigned artists that would love to ink a deal with Warner. President Barack Obama has apologized for a disparaging remark he made about art history. In a speech at a GE plant at the end of January, Obama jokingly said this.
But I promise you, folks can make a lot more potentially with skilled manufacturing or the trades than they might with an art history degree.
Well, one art historian, Ann C. Johns from the University of Texas at Austin, didn't like the president bad-mouthing her field and wrote an email to the White House protesting Obama's remarks. The president took this to heart and penned an apology in his own handwriting, which he sent to Ms. Johns. Obama wrote, "Let me apologize for my off-the-cuff remarks. I was making a point about the job market, not the value of art history. As it so happens, art history was one of my favorite subjects in high school, and it has helped me take in a great deal of joy in my life that I might otherwise have missed." It seems Obama knows not to mess with those crazy art historians, but I'm pretty sure they'll find it in their heart to forgive him. Putins Games is a documentary film that takes a critical look at the current Winter Olympics. The filmmakers were interested in discovering just how much corruption surrounds the Games. I'm happy to welcome the film's producer, Sasha Klein, to our studio. Thank you for coming in today, Sasha.
Thank you.
So, $51 billion, that's the price tag on these games, the most expensive games ever, winter or summer. My first question is, where did all the money go?
This is our question, where the money go, and this is the question of the millions and millions Russians, because Russia, it's not only Moscow and St. Petersburg. If you're going 100 kilometers away from Moscow, you're going 1 year beyond. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to Russia, where you still don't have good roads, you mm-hmm. don't have infrastructure, you don't have hospitals and education and so on, just think what you could do with $51 billion.
Right. So when did you find out that the money was spent how?
It's a lot of examples there. First of all, in the movie, you can see the Nemtsov, one of the leader of the opposition, and he's talking about the road, the 50-kilometer road from Sochi to the airport. And I'm quoting him that if we will do this road with 5 millimeter of gold, or we will put black caviar, it will stay the same price. 1 kilometer of the road, it costs $200 million.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Since the games began, we've been seeing the pictures by athletes, by journalists at the Sochi Olympics, showing that they're far from being ready. The hotels, the conditions there are horrible. I guess this hasn't surprised you.
Of course not, because you're talking about the premises that almost ready,
right.
But there are a lot of construction, and they canceled it before it. Even if we're talking about the seaport, the seaport, they started to do the seaport, and they did a few technical mistakes, and it washed away the seaport, and because of it, they just built a road, and they built a road the first time in the world that the road that you built, they built it not near the river. They built it all off the river, and they just killed the clean water. And this is one of the reasons that now you have
yellow water coming out of the taps.
Yellow water is good. Sometimes it's brown, but they said that it's coming with minerals.
Yeah. Now, you've spoken to people that have lost their homes, lost their jobs. Were they afraid to speak? Were people afraid to talk to you and come out with these stories?
The people that you can see in the movie, these people, they are ready to be exposed, okay? Because nothing to lose. We have a lot of interviews off the record, and the people, they're afraid to lose their jobs, they're afraid to speak. And if you're going to speak with somebody who is working in Olimstroy, immediately you said, okay, it's not my job, go to the speak person, the speaker, the PR person. And, just... but all the information what we have in the movie is maybe it's nothing new. Everything you had it before it in the internet, and a lot of opposition for Putin.
Right. Well, now, you put it in the film in such a way that just you put it all together in a way that as a viewer you can't help but be amazed at it. Sasha Klein, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Among the Oscar-nominated films for Best Documentary, one very unique film stands out. The Act of Killing, which already won the BAFTA award this week, deals with the 1960s Indonesian mass murders and their perpetrators in shocking ways. The film recreates, with the help of those responsible, their horrifying acts. Director Joshua Oppenheimer speaks about the film in the following report.
The film, The Act of Killing, leaves no audience member or critic indifferent. It presents a horrifying, grotesque, and surreal experience, but one which is very real. The movie has been universally praised as a documentary achievement, and it has the seal of approval of documentary film giants Werner Herzog and Earl Morris as its executive producers.
Itu definisi kejahatan perang. Itu buatan orang yang menang.
Anwar Congo was the leader of a group responsible for the deaths of 1 million people in the anti-communist purge in Indonesia in the 1960s. He boasts that he killed 1,000 men with his bare hands.
I wasn't sure if it was safe to approach these men at first at all, but when I did, I was horrified to find that all of them were open, all of them were boastful about recounting the most horrific details of the killings, often with smiles on their faces, often in front of their families, even their little grandchildren.
Not only were the men responsible for mass murders and unspeakable acts of violence never tried, they are still hailed as heroes and even hold political power.
I had this queasy feeling that I'd wandered into Germany 40 years after the Holocaust, only to find the Nazis still in power.
Oppenheimer approached Congo and his cohorts and asked them to recreate, in front of the cameras, their horrifying slaughters, with an added twist. Each scene was made in a different genre, one of Anwar's favorites: gangster films, westerns, and musicals. The result is a mesmerizing clash between unspeakable reality and the artifice of film. Beyond the film's cinematic and artistic prowess, Oppenheimer says it might have a real effect in Indonesia. He recalls a conversation with the editor of one of the country's leading papers.
He called me and he said, "Josh, there was a time before the act of killing in Indonesia, and now there will be a time after the act of killing. I've been censoring stories about this genocide ever since I've been in this job, and I'm not going to do it anymore."
And beyond the borders of Indonesia, Oppenheimer hopes the film could teach a universal lesson.
If we want to understand how human beings do this to each other, why we do this to each other, how after doing this to each other, because we're human and because therefore we are moral beings and know it's wrong, we tell stories to justify our actions. We lie to ourselves. If we care to understand that and therefore to have any chance in preventing that in the future, we have to start from the fact that evil's not only banal, it's human.
In just a moment, we'll hear all about the latest batch of pilots from Amazon, but first a few cultural highlights from around the world.
Textiles are a very important part of our daily lives. They protect us from the elements and used as ornament. Cotton, wool, linen, silk, or polyester, woven in consciousness, presents a panorama of contemporary fabrics and explains why textiles are important inspirations for designers. The exhibit also emphasizes the incredible influence of digital technologies on the world of textile design. You can discover everything about textile at the Eretz Israel Museum until June 15th. A new show at the Sydney Theatre chronicles the experiences of soldiers in conflict zones. Created using first-hand accounts, The Long Way Home tells the story of members of the Australian Defence Forces in operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, and East Timor, as well as humanitarian efforts. The Sydney Theatre joined forces with the Australian Defence Forces to bring military personnel to the stage to tell their stories. The show is now on a national tour of Australia and will be stopping in Brisbane, Melbourne, and Adelaide, among other cities, until April. Discover Impressionist paintings like you've never seen them. The Marmottan Monet Museum in Paris brings together famous Impressionist paintings for an exceptional exhibition. 100 works of art from private collections, including Baudin, Monet, and Cézanne, are presented to the public, some for the very first time. View the masterpieces at the Museum Marmottan until July 6th.
And now the lovely MinK is here. Hello, Yasmin.
Hello, Oded.
And Amazon,
Yes.
trying to be the next Netflix.
Exactly. Yes, I mean, we've all heard recently second season of House of Cards was released on Netflix on Valentine's Day last week.
Have you seen the whole thing already? Or?
I've not, surprisingly
Oh, okay.
not. I was actually planning on just sitting and watching the whole thing, and that hasn't happened yet. I'm going to find a space in my calendar.
plans
where
for the weekend.
I need to commit. I can't just watch one episode.
That is your problem.
It's true. So,
But what
yes.
about Amazon?
Well, okay, so Netflix has produced these brilliant shows like Orange is the New Black, House of Cards, that are getting loads of amazing reviews. And Amazon wants to compete. Justifiably, Amazon is one of the world's largest companies that deals with multimedia, with music, with film. And they've started releasing pilots that viewers can vote on and then see which one gets made into a proper series. Now, they
That's
did
nice.
this last year,
Yeah.
and the pilots that they came up with were good, but nothing to really compete with Netflix.
Right.
Now, there's 3 big contenders this year. Voting's still open for the next few months, and there's already one that has been talked about that it's going to actually be a big contender to Netflix. It's like kind of an HBO-style show.
Which one's that?
That's called Transparent. I'm
Okay.
going to talk first of all, though, about something called Mozart in the Jungle, just because I love the description. It's
Okay, it's a good name.
sex, drugs, and classical music.
What more could one want?
I know. I'm trying to avoid so many obvious puns
Yeah,
about
but this,
music.
if I'm not mistaken, has some big names attached to it as well.
It does, exactly. It's based on a memoir, and we have Roman Coppola and Jason Schwartzman are two of the people who wrote it. The director, Paul Weitz, did About a Boy, American
Right,
Pie,
right.
Ants, and we've got Gael Garcia Bernal and Malcolm McDowell.
Right.
Just 2 of the famous names in there. So it's kind of behind the scenes of an orchestra, seeing what CD goings on happen.
I'm sure there's lots of good stuff.
Good stuff. So transparency.
Transparent though, yeah.
So this is about, I don't know if you have watched Arrested Development, but it's about a kind of dysfunctional family. We've got Jeffrey Tambor, who's a brilliant actor, especially in TV, who's playing the lead. But actually the hint is in the name. He's actually trans, and the beginning of the show starts with him telling his family that he's going to transition and become a woman.
That's an interesting premise.
Yeah, it's really sensitively handled. This is why people are already starting to say, you know, this actually could be a contender for HBO-style shows. I'll leave you to watch it.
Okay.
But it's kind of dark comedy, but very genuine and
save some time for the last series, because there's a big name attached to that one as well.
Exactly. There's Chris Carter, who's the
creator
guy
of X-Files.
Yes, who wrote and directed the X-Files. And it's a bit similar to X-Files. It's 8 soldiers who are strangers even, who are thrown together at the end of the world. Now, we don't know exactly what has caused the end of the world. It's kind of apocalyptic action.
Right.
And they're all thrown together. They have to survive.
This is what people are saying it might be the next Lost.
Yes,
with
maybe, but hopefully not as long and without a boring ending.
Thank you, Yasmin.
You're welcome.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you at home for joining us as well. I hope you enjoyed our show and that you'll join us again tomorrow.